You pull the cord on that gas auger. It screams to life, echoing across the frozen lake. You cut your hole and then you do what we've all been told to do. You stand back, grab a coffee, and you wait. But what if that 30-minute wait is the biggest lie in ice fishing? Today we are putting that old rule under the microscope. We are going to tear apart the age-old 30-minute dead zone theory. By the end of this video, you will know for certain if you are wasting precious fishing time. The reason fish aren't biting right away might have nothing to do with the noise, and everything to do with what you do right after the engine cuts off. So, let me know in the comments right now before we even start. Do you wait after drilling? Yes or no? I want to see what you all think. So where did this idea even come from? It makes sense on the surface, right? A loud, vibrating machine is going to scare away any animal. It's what our grandfathers told us, and their grandfathers told them. It became a ritual. You drill your holes for the day, then you take a break to let the area cool down. The whole concept is built on the assumption that fish are like deer in the woods. They hear a loud noise and they bolt for the hills, not returning for a long time. This belief is so ingrained in the ice fishing community that many anglers will defend it to the death. They've been doing it this way for 20, 30, even 40 years, and they've caught fish. So why change? Because maybe, just maybe, they caught those fish in spite of the waiting, not because of it. Let's break down what's really happening down there. First, let's talk about the sound itself. What you hear standing on the ice is completely different from what the fish experiences down below. Sound travels through air, then through the ice, and then into the water. Each time it changes medium, the properties of the sound change. That high-pitched whine of the two-stroke engine you hear, it gets muffled and distorted. What really travels well into the water column are the low-frequency vibrations, the deep rumble, and the grinding of the blades against the ice. Think of it like hearing a concert from outside the stadium. You don't hear the singer's voice clearly, but you feel the bass thumping in your chest. That's what the fish are dealing with. It's less of a piercing scream and more of a jarring, ground-shaking vibration. Now let's imagine we're conducting an experiment. We drop a hydrophone, which is just a fancy word for an underwater microphone, down a hole just before we start drilling a new one 10 feet away. The moment the auger starts, the hydrophone would pick up a massive spike in sound and vibration. It would be a chaotic, overwhelming noise. This is the initial shockwave. It's loud, it's violent, and it's completely unnatural to the underwater environment. So the old-timers aren't entirely wrong about this part. The act of drilling is a major disturbance. There is no question about that. The real question isn't if it causes a disturbance, but rather what is the nature of that disturbance and how long do its effects truly last once the noise stops. It's not just about how loud the auger is, it's about the frequency of the sound. Fish are built to detect low-frequency vibrations. It's how they hunt and how they avoid being hunted. They have an internal ear, but the more importantly, they have a lateral line. This is a series of sense organs running down the sides of their body that feels movement and vibration in the water. The low-frequency thumping from a gas auger's blades cutting through ice is directly in the sweet spot of what their lateral line can detect. It's like someone setting off a firecracker right next to your ear. So yes, the sound is perfectly designed to get their attention, and not in a good way. But is it a get out of town signal, or just a what the heck was that signal? Let's put ourselves in the fish's fins for a moment. You're a perch, swimming along in the dim, quiet world under the ice. Suddenly your whole world starts shaking violently. A deafening roar comes from above. Your lateral line is screaming, "Danger!" Every instinct in your body tells you to move away from the source of that threat. This is a primal fight or flight response. You don't stick around to analyze the situation, you just get out of there. This initial reaction is what created the myth in the first place. Fishermen knew the fish scattered, which is 100% correct. They made the logical leap that they must stay gone for a long, long time. So the fish definitely scatter, we can agree on that. But the 30-minute question is the most important part. How long do they stay scattered? Think about other animals. A squirrel hears a loud noise and runs up a tree. Does it stay up there for 30 minutes? No. As soon as it perceives the threat is gone, it comes right back down to look for nuts. Fish are not that different. Their brains are wired for survival, and survival means eating. Once the violent, threatening vibration stops, the immediate danger is over. Their world returns to normal. Their memory of that event is very short. They don't hold a grudge. The instinct to feed will quickly override the memory of a frightening noise that has already passed. Here's something else to consider, the curiosity factor. While some fish will be spooked and stay away, others, especially predators, might have the opposite reaction. A massive disturbance in their environment could signal an opportunity. It could mean a dying fish or other creatures being stirred up from the bottom. Think of a pike or a lake trout. They are apex predators. A sudden commotion might be like a dinner bell to them. They might not rush right into the danger zone, but they will certainly move in to investigate from a safe distance. So while you're waiting for the scared fish to come back, you might be missing out on the curious fish that are already there, checking things out. The best evidence we have these days comes from underwater cameras, and what they show is fascinating. If you drop a camera down a hole immediately after drilling, you'll see a cloud of slush and ice chips. The water is murky, but within a minute or two, as it begins to clear, you will often see small fish like shiners or young perch darting in and out. They are the first responders. Then a few minutes later, you might see the larger panfish, the crappies and bluegills, cautiously returning. The whole process of the area repopulating often takes less than 5 to 10 minutes, not 30. The camera doesn't lie. The fish come back, and they come back surprisingly fast. We also have to remember that not all fish are created equal. Different species will react in different ways. Panfish, like bluegills and crappies, tend to be more skittish. They are prey for many other fish, so their instinct is to be cautious. A loud noise might push them out of the immediate area for a bit longer, but a big, aggressive predator like a northern pike or a walleye, they are far less likely to be intimidated. As we said, they may even be attracted to the commotion. So the 30-minute rule might have a tiny grain of truth if you're targeting small, nervous fish in shallow water, but it makes almost no sense if you're after the big boys in deeper water. Now, let's propose a radical idea. What if the engine noise isn't the main problem? Think about what else happens when you drill a hole. A massive column of ice shavings and slush gets flushed down into the water. This completely changes the water clarity and can clog up a fish's gills. Even more importantly, you introduce a giant, bright shaft of light into a world that was previously dark and covered. Imagine being in a dark room and someone suddenly shines a spotlight on you. It's disorienting and alarming. For many fish, this sudden, bright light from above is a much bigger and more lasting disturbance than a sound that only lasted for 15 seconds. Let's stay on that idea of light and shadow. Under a blanket of snow-covered ice, the underwater world is very dim. Fish adapt to these low-light conditions. Their eyes are sensitive, and they use shadows for cover, both for hunting and for hiding. When you drill a hole, you create an unnaturally bright spot. It's like a stage light. Prey fish will actively avoid this bright, exposed area because it makes them an easy target for predators. So they might not be avoiding the hole because of the memory of the sound, but because they are actively avoiding the bright, dangerous-looking column of light. This effect lasts as long as the hole is there, not just for 30 minutes. Here is the real kicker. The sound of your auger might be less of a problem than the sound of your own 2 feet. The auger is a loud but very brief event. Your footsteps, on the other hand, can be a constant source of disruption. Every time you walk around your hole, drop a tackle box, or shuffle your feet, you are sending low-frequency thumps and vibrations directly through the ice. To a fish, this is like having someone constantly stomping on the ceiling above you. It's a persistent threat signal that keeps them on edge. So you wait 30 minutes for the auger noise to settle, but then you spend that whole time making a different, and possibly worse, kind of noise. Let's explore an even more controversial theory, the positive association theory. On heavily fished lakes, fish might actually learn to associate the sound of an auger with food. Think about it. What happens seconds after an auger drills a hole? A fisherman drops down a tasty jig, a minnow, or some wax worms. For the fish, the sequence is loud noise, then food appears. It's like Pavlov's dogs. Over time, instead of seeing the noise as a threat, the more aggressive fish in the population might learn to see it as a dinner bell. They might actually be drawn towards the sound, knowing that a meal is likely to follow. It sounds crazy, but in pressured fisheries, fish can adapt in very strange ways. So where did the magic number of 30 minutes even come from? Let's be honest, it wasn't from a scientific study with hydrophones and underwater cameras. It's an arbitrary number that probably came from one guy telling another guy, "I usually wait about half an hour." It just sounds like a good, safe amount of time. It's long enough to feel like you've been patient, but not so long that you get bored and leave. It's a piece of fishing folklore passed down from one generation to the next until it became accepted as fact. There is no science behind the specific number 30. It could have just as easily been 20 minutes or 45. It's just a guess that became a rule. Now, what about the electric auger argument? A lot of guys will tell you they switched to an electric auger specifically because it's quieter and doesn't spook the fish. And yes, to our ears standing on the ice, they are significantly quieter. There's no loud 2-stroke engine screaming. But remember what we said about underwater sound. The fish aren't hearing the engine noise as much as they are feeling the vibration of the blades cutting the ice. An electric auger still has to chew through the same hard ice. It still creates a massive amount of low-frequency vibration. It's definitely an improvement and less disruptive overall, but it does not create a silent hole. The core disturbance is still there. Let's paint a picture we've all seen. You get to your spot, you drill a hole, and you start your 30-minute timer. You're being patient, doing it the right way. Meanwhile, your buddy walks 50 feet away, punches a hole, and drops his line in the water less than a minute later. Before your coffee is even cool, you see his rod bend over. He's got a fish on. What does that tell you? It tells you that at least one fish was right there, and it was willing to bite almost immediately after the auger's noise stopped. Your 30-minute wait didn't help you. In fact, it just cost you 30 minutes where you could have been fishing and potentially catching that same active fish. So if waiting is a waste of time, what should you be doing instead? The key is efficiency and stealth after the hole is drilled. The goal is to minimize your secondary disturbance, have your rod, bait, and sonar ready to go before you even start the auger. Once the hole is cut, clear the slush out as quietly and quickly as possible. Don't kick the slush across the ice. Use a scoop. Then get your line in the water immediately. Once your line is in, sit down and stay put. Don't walk around. Don't drop things. The 15 seconds of auger noise is over. Now your job is to be as quiet as a mouse. This brings us to the first drop advantage. Some of the most successful ice anglers believe the first 5 minutes after drilling a hole are the most important. This is when the most aggressive or the most curious fish in the area will be investigating the disturbance. They see the new light, they feel the leftover vibrations, and they come to check it out. If a fresh, tasty-looking bait is waiting for them right then and there, you have a very high chance of getting bit. If you wait 30 minutes, those initial curious fish may have already come, seen nothing interesting, and left the area. You may have literally missed your best opportunity. Don't just take my word for it. Test it yourself. This is the best way to become a better angler. The next time you go out, conduct your own experiment. Drill 2 holes, maybe 30 or 40 feet apart in a similar depth. On the first hole, drop your line in immediately and fish it for 30 minutes. On the second hole, drill it and then walk away. Start your timer. After exactly 30 minutes, come back and start fishing it. Keep a mental note of how many bites you get on each, and especially how quickly you get your first bite on each. The results might surprise you and change the way you fish forever. There is no substitute for your own on-the-ice experience. So, what's the final verdict on the 30-minute dead zone? It's largely a myth. Yes, the auger creates a brief, violent disturbance that causes an initial scattering of fish. We can call this a scatter zone. However, this zone lasts for maybe 1 to 5 minutes, not 30. For many fish, especially predators, the hole can become a point of interest almost immediately. The old rule was born from a correct observation that fish scatter, but it led to an incorrect conclusion about how long they stay gone. The truth is, your time is much better spent fishing than waiting. So let's wrap this all up. We've drilled through the noise and gotten to the core of it. The idea that your gas auger creates a 30-minute dead zone around your hole is, for the most part, a myth. The fish do scatter for a moment, but they come back much, much faster than the old stories would have you believe. And here's the real twist, the big takeaway from all of this. The most significant dead zone isn't created by the 15 seconds of engine noise. It's created by you, your heavy footsteps, your shuffling, and your fumbling with gear on the ice after the hole is drilled. That constant, unpredictable thumping from above is far more terrifying to a fish than a loud noise that came and went. This changes everything. It means you could be wasting the most productive first few minutes of your spot by patiently waiting for a ghost to disappear. Thank you so much for watching. If this video just blew your mind, or if you've been telling your buddies this for years, do me a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe for more fishing content that busts the myths. Now I have a question for all of you. What is the single biggest fishing myth you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments below. Let's have a real debate about it.